numbers. I think it's more of a informational presentation at this time, and Claire, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but without numbers, it's talking about priorities is probably not something we want to do, but I think just the overall process is good to cover, and we have, there's the virtual workshop on the 9th and the 10th, and then we have another meeting on the 14th with the parents. And as we get more numbers that we can plug into the picture, I think somewhere maybe between the 14th and the 21st, we can have another meeting that's more informative based on the numbers. So what I would like to try to do is to have Claire just do her presentation and see if we have any questions over the process in general. And if I miss anything, then either Claire or Sandy or Mr. Gibson or Carlos now, or Mr. Castillo now that's on there can correct me or add any input that you want. But it would be very difficult without numbers. Is that right, Claire?
Yes. A lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about this evening has to do with some of the previous budget information that you guys have been provided in the past, and it would give the opportunity for the new board members to kind of at least be familiar with some of the data that we're going to be preparing here as soon as we have numbers. So I'll go ahead and get started on the presentation, and it probably would work better. Brian Chavez, the tech, is going to be putting the presentation up on the screen so that you guys will be able to see it, and we'll kind of go along, go through the budget process. If you guys have any questions at any time.
Should I text him and tell him that we're ready? I think this is him asking me.
Okay, so yes, we're ready for us to start the presentation, unless Mr. Gibson, there's any thing you want to say.
Just briefly, I'm glad to be here. I spent the day meeting with people, including Claire. She gave me an overview of the budget, and it appears that the district is in fine financial position. And so realizing that there are variables about how much the state is going to provide, I think we're where we are at this point in time.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Mr. Smith, yes, if you'll let Mr. Chavez know to put the presentation up. Sure. And the people who are streaming online will be able to look at the presentation and follow along with us. Okay.
The presentation is up now. He tells me and that we're live right now. So I'd like to thank everybody that's watching our first budget workshop. I'm going to turn this immediately over to Mr. Gibson and Mrs. Searmans.
Okay. As I said, I spent some time on the budget with Claire today. Given the limitations on knowing what the state formula is going to provide, I think that you're going to see a good framework for a budget. It makes sense to me, and Claire has done this many, many years, and so I'm very confident that she can present it well. So, Claire, you're on.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Gibson and members of the board and community. Thank you for attending and viewing online. Today's budget workshop, although I did title it Budget Overview and Budget Priorities, I think to some degree we will be able to have a theoretic discussion about some of the priorities that the board would like to see as we move forward. Although that will be very difficult since we don't have hard numbers from the state, we'll do our best to try to answer all the questions that you have and set the framework, like Mr. Gibson said, for the budget process for this year. I started the presentation with the business office credentials, and I just thought it was important that we have information out there as to the longevity of the people in the business office, including myself. I've been there for 23 and a half years. Sandy Tracek, who's the Director of Finance, for 13 years, and Carlos Castillo, our payroll supervisor, have all been within the district in the finance office. Carlos for 11 years. I didn't put all the rest of the staff on here, but I would be remiss if I did not also mention we have a director of purchasing and a buyer, and they both have state certifications for purchasing, buying, public purchasing professionals. We have 3 payroll specialists, 2 accounts payable, 2 senior financial specialists that take care of our reimbursements from the state, our RFRs, and also our fixed assets, and 2 financial specialists that oversee the school sites, activity funds, and also all the purchase orders in the district. So we have 14 very hardworking, very dedicated, very qualified staff. We are, as I've been listening to a lot of the recent recognition of all the staff doing really wonderful things for our district, we're often forgotten, probably because we're not very visible. We're sitting behind our computers or most of the time spreadsheets and stuff, but I just wanted to take this opportunity to recognize these individuals because they work very, very, very hard, and it's part of a successful district. You have to pay your employees timely and accurately. You have to pay all your bills. That way vendors want to continue to do business with you, and the lights stay on, and the toilet paper gets ordered, right? So we just want to make sure that we don't forget those individuals. Just briefly too, before we move on, I had Mr. Castillo this morning pull me some of the data from last year, and last year we processed 5,102 purchase orders for the district. We had 5,051 accounts payable checks that were written. We paid 1,619 employees, and receipted and deposited 3,534 deposits. So everybody is always very, very busy. We probably need to start off at the very next step. Was last week we had a presentation with Mr. Guillen, the Executive Director of the School Board Association, and Terry Dean, the Executive Director of the School Board Association, Business Officials Association, give a presentation just outlining the process, the board's roles and responsibilities, and I thought that was very helpful and beneficial. Also last week, Ms. Sanders had sent the board members Supplement 1 and Supplement 3 from the Manual of Procedures from the Public Education website. And those, I won't go through those documents unless you guys want to, but hopefully you, if you needed any bedtime reading, then you were able to look through those documents. And of course, it has a lot of information, and a lot of time people don't always understand why we do the things we do, and they don't realize that we're very heavily governed by the Public Education Department, and we have to follow a process in order to have all of our I's dotted and T's crossed. So the first slide kind of goes through the Supplement 1, and it basically just summarizes it's the purpose of the school district's operational budget. And just the highlights from that is that the budget should serve as a tool for planning and controlling the operations. And the budget we have the ability to increase, decrease, and make changes to the budget as necessary throughout the school year. It is to ensure that we are able to objectively plan, coordinate, evaluate, and control the spending in the district. And by all means, it provides a roadmap for our district and for our students. You can kind of tell the date of this document is a little bit aged because it still talks about the support and it should support and reflect the school district's educational plan for student success. We don't have EPS plans anymore. We have 90-day plans. And so, but our budget should reflect our 90-day plans for the individual school sites, and also provide historical data and statistical data for the state. Any questions on that document?
No.
Okay, so the manual Supplement 1 is the budget planning, preparation, and maintenance, and Supplement 3 is the uniform chart of accounts. And the chart of accounts kind of outlines all of the funds that we utilize and the fund accounting code, the account strings, and not necessarily that you have to familiarize yourself with that, but it's going to be a good idea when we're rattling out numbers and budgeting items that you have an awareness of the chart of accounts that we have to prepare our budget for. So again, it's good nighttime reading, and if there's no other questions, then we'll move on. The budget timeline is outlined here tonight. April 7th is a board workshop. This would actually be considered the second board workshop. April 9th and 10th, that's this Thursday and Friday, we will have a virtual spring budget workshop. There are various webinars. This is obviously a new process given COVID-19, and so it's going to be interesting. Several of the staff who was registered to attend the spring budget workshop has been given the information for the virtual spring budget. Everybody will register individually for the individual sessions, and if you're not able to view them live, then they will be warehoused in the ASBO, New Mexico ASBO website, and we would be able to go back and access them. So right now, that's the plan. We take apart the spring budget workshop and usually make sure that all the sessions are covered by individuals in our district. That way, all the material is brought back and we're able to utilize that information for the budget prep. April 14th, we have a budget presentation, and this is the presentation where we are going to seek input from parents, the NEA, and the community. Earlier in the year, I spoke with Margot Rivera, who's the president of NEA, and she said that there wasn't a need to have a separate NEA meeting, that she would participate with the board workshops and the parent advisory. So I know that Margot was invited to this meeting as well, and I don't know if she's watching. She's obviously not on our participant list now, but I will make sure that we're in contact with her so that she gets the information as well. One of the ways that we're hoping to, for the board members who have been with us for a couple of years now, every time we advertise a parent input community meeting, then it usually results in very low turnout. This year we were given the director from PED that we need to continue to get parent input into our budget process, and we need to do that adhering to all the COVID-19 social distancing that's in effect. So one of the ways that we at least have talked about getting parent involvement into this budget is to have the elementary principals who have active PTCs provide us with a name of one of the officers and an email address so that we can specifically invite them next week to the parent meeting. I don't, other than that, it's difficult. These presentations will be posted on the website, and we always welcome comments that way as well. But if you guys have any other suggestions or something that you want us to explore, then we're definitely open to try to get that information out here quickly so we have parent input next week.
Claire, how are you feeling about the fact that you're likely to get some at least potential new numbers on the 9th and 10th, and this budget presentation to the community and others is on the 14th? Does that leave you enough time?
The budget presentation for the community and the parent input usually is this same presentation. Even in the event that we have specific numbers and the unit value's been given, then that's not likely the conversation that I have with the parents at that particular time. It's usually just, again, here's the process, here's the timeline, and we'd like to get your input and any questions or discussion that you might have pertaining to the budget. Mr. Smith, your request to possibly have something in between the 14th and the 28th, then yes, as soon as we have budget information, then if that's something that the board wants to put in place, then we can accommodate that request to have another meeting there with more specific information. Our budget due date to the Public Education Department is on May 19th. And so we would be looking to have the budget approved by the Board of Education on the scheduled May 12th board meeting. The next slide is a student enrollment trend information. And Elena Trodden helps me every year. put this information in place so that we could have a graph of the information. And I'm not sure if you guys are able to see the numbers. They're obviously very small on my handout that I'm looking at, but you could probably see that this year we did experience a slight decline on the 40th, 80th, and 120th day counts. So we typically start looking at the counts all as early as the 5-day warm body count, and then make sure that staffing and everything is appropriate for the student counts as we go through the year. So the student count enrollment information is always very, very crucial for the budget because we are funded by the number of students. The next slide is sources of revenue for operational. So I want to point out that this was the information that was given to the board last May when we were proposing. We had an estimate for the 2018-19 and a proposed for the 19-20. So these are prior year data. This is not current year revenue numbers at this particular time, since I don't have that information. But I just wanted, again, people to be familiar with the object codes that are all the way on the far left, the description of those object codes, and then any discussion that we might want to have concerning the budget numbers that are up there. If you can see, lots of times we tend to budget conservatively on the year-to-date revenue because it's very difficult to come back and cut budgets mid-year. So we always budget revenues conservatively. That way, in the event that we have to, we can always go back and add. But cutting a budget in the middle of the year is very, very difficult. This is only specific to operational fund, and the fund code is 11,000. Is there any questions? The next slide is the Los Lunas Schools state equalization guarantee revenue trend. So you'll hear us, the acronym SEG. So SEG stands for State Equalization Guarantee, and that is basically 99% of our operational budget is the SEG. And you can tell from the slide before, when you look down the list, everything else is relatively small in comparison to the SEG. That is actually the 99%, the majority of the operational budget. So the data that you guys have in front of you just shows that really for the most part over the last 6 years it's been relatively stable and not a whole lot of movement. Last year's increase was specifically due to the K5 Plus and extending learning time revenue being added to the state equalization guarantee, and that was $4.1 million all by itself. So that was a significant amount of revenue that we received last year, and that was due to SEG, state equalization on the ELT and K5 Plus. So the next slide is training and experience index, and the training and experience index on the 910B5 is now changed. So in addition to having a training and experience index, you also have a teacher cost index. It's now TCI. And so that information is being phased over a 4-year period. Last year, the TCI was 0.25% of the training and experience index, and then 75% T&E. This year, it's going to be split 50-50. And this year's data will reflect our T&E of 1.064 and our TCI of 1.059. So what this directly is related to is the level of experience or certifications, degrees that your certified staff have, and the years of experience that they hold. So a reason why you could kind of see that it's kind of slightly gone down and then maybe leveled off a little bit is because we've worked really, really hard to retain teachers, to maintain the training experience level, because that index factor on the 910B5 has a huge implications if that number continues to go down. That's back in 2015-16 to the 16-17 school year, when it went from 1.072 to 1.058, that roughly related to like $1.5 million operational dollars that we lost. So that's the reason why it's so important that we try to maintain and retain our teachers, and also support their training and experience. We pay for credits for them to continue their education. And we actually increased that a couple years back. So we pay $250 a credit for them to continue their experience. And that's all to try to help maintain the training experience level. When you have a lot of retirements, teachers on alternative license, and then obviously new teachers, those all play a factor in this in this index. And like I said, it has huge cost reductions when that number goes down. This next slide is operational fund expenditures, and off to the right-hand side is the function codes, and that's how we have to report our operational budget. That first number that's 1,000 operational, that actually should say direct instruction. And the direct instruction is where we have costs for teacher salaries and benefits, aides, supplies and materials, textbooks, athletic allocations, anything directly related to the student goes into that direct instruction 1,000 function. And when you actually take into consideration the direct instruction, support service for students, and support service for instruction, and support service for school administration, then that actually makes up $59,919,817 of our $78 million budget. And when you relate that to the percentages as it's shown there, that's actually 76% of our budget is for the services directly related to the students. So obviously this information gets reported to the state, and it's used for their statistical purposes. And also, I haven't been through too many budgets where when you justify your budget to the public education department, they always want to know what your direct instruction and your instructional support and administrative costs, all those costs are submitted to the state. So I just thought that would be interesting for you guys to kind of see it in this pie chart. This doesn't give you all the specific numbers, it's based off of percentages, but I definitely have the numbers to support these percentages, and can get that out, and we'll be discussing that further as we move forward. Again, Los Lunas Schools budget summary. So every year on July 1, after our budget has been approved, and all of our subsequent funds are put in to the public education department's budget system, then we get an operating budget. And this is our total operating budget. So this includes all of our federal programs, in addition to our operational fund and all of our capital outlay bonds, service funds. Again, just to kind of highlight the magnitude of the amount of dollars that we work with on an annual basis. And you can see for the most part, it slightly fluctuates up and down. Last year, significant increase. Again, part of that was from the state equalization guarantee going up. And another reason for that is we're holding on to some of our capital outlay funds. The money that we're participating with, this PSFA projects that we're participating with, then we're obviously have our money available, our match money for Peralta Elementary, some of these security projects. And those projects have kind of been slow go to get started. So that's the main reason for capital outlay being up in last year's budget. But otherwise, that's the total amount of budget that we get every year. initial budget analysis, this is just based off of legislation that was passed in the money budget bill for school districts. There was an average 4% raise. And then information that we've received from the school insurance authority is that the medical premium for high option is increased, 8.7%. There is a low option increase. It's much lower. I believe it's like 2.7%, but most of our employees carry high option. So we utilize the 8.7% for budgeting purposes. We had been notified that there was not going to be a liability increase or dental premium increase. So right now it would just be those employees who carry the medical premiums, medical with us. On the utility side, then we utilize the school dude in order to capture all of our utility costs. And I printed that out so I could have it in front of me. So let's see if I can access it real quick. So we do capture all of the costs for electric, gas, water, and sewer on a monthly basis. And during last 2 years, we were roughly budgeted roughly spent $1.7 million on utilities. This year, that number is obviously going to be a little bit skewed, probably downwards, because most of our schools are, not operating these last couple months. So that'll be interesting to kind of track. But anyway, we use average information that we've had from previous years in order to capture our utility costs and make sure that we're budgeting for any increases in electrical, gas, or water and sewer that are coming out from the utility folks. Salaries, so we keep track and make sure that we're roughly keeping around the 85% of our budget is in salaries and benefits off of that analysis. And Sandy and Carlos do a whole lot of this type of analysis for me, and we have these discussions, but Sandy has done the calculations for the last couple of years, and we do always roughly stay right about that 85%, sometimes higher, sometimes lower, but roughly about that 85%. So that would have included last year's budget. That amount would have been roughly about $46,745,000 was budgeted in the salary and benefit line items. So when you take our budget, then that leaves roughly less than $10 million for everything else that we have to pay, which includes utilities and property liability insurance and everything else. So that's just, again, something that as we're moving forward with the budget, you'll hear us talk about, and we'll be able to capture the salaries and the different functions, and those roughly represent 85% of the budget. So Mr. Smith, Mr. Gibson, that's all of the data information that's been prepared. I thank Carlos and Sandy for participating and helping me prepare a lot of the information that's being presented this evening. If you guys have any questions, and now would be a good time for you to talk about anything that would we could look to accommodate or try to accommodate as we start developing the budget numbers once we get information from the Public Education Department.
Board members, any questions or comments? So Claire, based on what's going on in our district, it's not going to slow us down at all, right? Probably. With the virus and everything, you're still going to be right on track, and that's not going to factor into what you're doing.
Oh, right. Yeah. And I mean, all the correspondence that I've received from the state says that you're given a due date, and we're going to push forward to get all this information processed. I didn't send this out, but just late yesterday afternoon, the Public Education Department posted their budget documents on their website. So prior to yesterday, I had been checking and I hadn't been able to find it, but we did receive the budget document checklist for the 2021 school year. And obviously you can see, in addition to just preparing the numbers, there's all kinds of additional documents that we have to prepare to accompany the budget. One of those includes a calendar for next year, salary schedules, retirement schedules for our for our debt service fund, and anyway, all kinds of stuff. So Carlos, Sandy, and I, have met. We basically take this document and split it up where several of we have several areas of responsibility that we're responsible for. There's also a document that accompanies the budget that is usually filled out from the curriculum office. And, there's just a whole lot of input and work that goes into gathering all the documents for the budget. And we are already on our way with the best information that we have as of right now and preparing all of these documents to submit to the state.
Very good. And you're right, Claire. With all this been going on in our district, we do need to acknowledge the finance department a lot more than we do. And you're right, it's kind of tucked away, and sometimes people don't recognize that, but you guys do a terrific job. So we just want you to go ahead and know that, and apologize for not mentioning that in all of the comments that we make. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you, Mr. Smith.
Any other comments, board members? Mr. Gibson?
No, just compliment Claire. She's as competent as she was when I left 10 years ago. She does a great job with the budget. I'm impressed with the fact that the district has such a solid financial position and money in the bank. And if there are major issues with the state budget, I think we're in a good position to handle them.
Thank you, Mr. Gibson. Any other comments? All right, I would like to thank Claire and her department for this presentation, and we look forward to what's about to come. Maybe we'll learn some more stuff after the virtual meetings and the parent community meeting, and if need be, we can schedule another work session in between there to answer our questions, and we'll have more data to view, and then we'll get a better view of where we're at. Does that sound fine? I guess.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yes. As soon as I have information, and that information will be shared. And like I said, as we're working through the budget, then we will. I agree. We probably need another work session in there to be able to talk about what's going on as soon as we get information from the state. So.
Perfect. So thank you, Claire and Sandy, Mr. Castillo, board members, Mr. Gibson. Thank you for attending. Thank you, everybody, for watching. And we look forward to getting some numbers in here. Everybody have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good night.